Railway to gold mid is damn near perfect, and that's coming from somebody who isn't flown out to events or given early access. It might in fact be the prettiest, most diverse, and technically impressive map in franchise history outside of maybe Siege of Shanghai. Between its beautiful poppy fields, bright open skies, and detailed interiors, all the way down to kids' teddy bears sitting on their beds, the map answers pretty much every prayer a Battlefield player could have. Massive outdoor spaces, complex and detailed structures, and graphics that take me back to Battlefield 4, dreaming of what the next generation Battlefield would look like. And this is it. However, while gold mid, the M16, and new quality of life changes may have made this game the best it'll ever be, at the same time, in DICE fashion, the game seems to have taken a hefty step backwards in terms of performance, providing some incredible moments like this within my first hour of gameplay.
What the fuck? Whoa, what the fuck is wrong with the game? What the fuck? Jesus Christ!
And while this is certainly going to dampen my initial score today, I gotta say, as a creator who's not flown out to events or given that early access, Season 3 is perhaps peak Battlefield 6, though it is leaving me with some lingering concerns. But guys, if you like in-depth reviews and discussions about all things Battlefield, drop a like and hit subscribe, and let's score my first impressions of Season 3. Getting right back to where I left off, gold mid is incredible, with some creators like the Tactical Brit calling it a 10 out of 10, and he's probably not exaggerating. Per my own standards, gold mid could well be a perfect map. Its massive size allows for much more complexity and player agency. Vehicles have tons of space, and infantry gets a huge area of CQB, and you can really control how you engage with the gameplay. On top of that, it's easily one of the best looking maps in franchise history, taking what was a pretty barren map and really making it feel lived in, with interior spaces that feel like a milsim and open pastures of crops like we've seen in Battlefield 5. As someone who really didn't like the original, I'm blown away at how great this map turned out. So a huge shout out to the team. They've picked the right map and clearly had a strong vision for its remaster, and created something so vast and so detailed, I'm blown away on even a technical level. Now, moving on to the next little bit of content that made me smile, I'm happy to report the M16 is totally back.
Bravo!
It's honestly a crime the game didn't release with such an iconic weapon, but now it's here and I could not be happier. Returning with all of its 3-shot burst glory, the M16 fits perfectly into the AR category and adds a new flavor. Snappier and a little more hectic than the Scar, but more deliberate and mean than the 433. It looks the part, feels the part, and pairs so nicely with all the OG content. Just a word of advice, keep the burst trigger. The auto version isn't nearly as crisp or iconic. Now, outside of that, I'm not really the guy to ask about the L115 sniper, though I can agree it looks sexy as hell and should add a new hard-hitting option to the category. And so far, reports are showing the RPK could be an absolute laser beam. But I'll keep you posted as I work my way through the Battle Pass. And speaking of the Battle Pass, I've got some good news there as well. First off, Dagger Squad, aka the campaign characters, are included in the pass, not as a separate bundle. In general, they all look great, with some like Hemlock being a real standout. But across the board, the Battle Pass content is an upgrade over both Season 1 and 2, with some skins really catching my eye, except for the cover art guy, who looks like he got jacked after his second divorce and losing the kids. Same thing goes with the store as well as the BF Pro challenges. A few decent additions, including some extra little gifts for returning players, but nothing worth opening your wallet up for. Now, outside of the big ticket items like the map, weapons, and battle pass, the latest additions to these seasonal challenges are really nice to see. Adding things like the recoil buffer tube, burst trigger, and several other new attachments are really nice additions to help deepen the sandbox. Being encouraged to explore new weapon builds every season is a really nice touch and should help add a little more player agency alongside shaking up the meta. However, speaking of weapon changes and meta, getting into the negatives, we gotta talk about the increased recoil on controller. While creators like MaxiQ have been testing and commenting on the changes, I personally feel like it's hard to consciously notice any differences moment to moment. But subconsciously, I can feel myself cutting it much closer in gunfights. And while I can hold my own, it now feels like every match is ranked, sorta like the old Modern Warfare days with SBMM. There's so many things now fighting against the player, between hit reg, desync, bad audio, woefully balanced weapons, and now this. You're not really fighting the enemy as much as you're now often fighting the game. I think we're about to see a huge purge of casual players who can't understand why they're losing fights at a way higher rate. While I and probably most hardcore controller players might not be as affected, I'm worried for the console guys playing on their couch and TV. Battlefield has always leaned more casual with a huge console player base, but with the introduction of ranked and changes like these, the game might start leaving those core players behind, or at least leaving them frustrated during a time the franchise can't be sacrificing any players. What used to be a more couch casual FPS is becoming a cross-play hellscape with 150 millisecond TTKs, ranked modes, and ever-changing gunplay mechanics based on input, on top of the endless bugs which this update adds in droves. If they decide to go in this direction, at a minimum they need to guide players and really explain how recoil works, and give players more tools to track their weapon's performance in the firing range and so on. My argument around this change has always been that I'm happy with increased recoil if things like aim reset and accuracy are snappy and within my control. I'm fine with recoil. Hell, I played Insurgency Sandstorm on controller. But I need the bullets to go where I'm aiming, and this change just makes the game even messier than before. So while I'm all for a skill gap and more dynamic weapons, players need the ability to control their weapons as they wish. Less bloom, more recoil, and quicker aim reset to allow for more intentional tap firing and more clear gunfights. But ultimately, I don't think casual console players bought Battlefield to feel like they're playing a competitive game. And this is most likely going to see a lot of casuals get fed up and leave. At the end of the day, whether you can compensate the changes or not, it ultimately just makes the gunfighting even messier. A game that already has concerns over visibility and audio is now making the gunfighting less clear and more hectic. But while I'm surviving, I think a lot of other players are just going to see a messier experience and get fed up with the devs who don't really seem to know what they're doing. But outside of that, the weapons and hit reg don't seem all that different with this patch. Granted, quality of life changes, like showing the amount of respawns left on a beacon, are really great, and directional footstep audio may be a tad better. Now moving on to my final gripe, like you saw at the beginning of the video, the game's performance seems to have taken a massive hit. Now that clip came after I attempted to lower my graphics settings to help smooth out my FPS, which on a Ryzen 9 4090 with 64 gigs of DDR5 is often sitting just around 80 FPS at 4K high settings, no ultra or overkill. After the game tanked my OBS during my morning stream, I tried lowering all my settings, but was still facing the same FPS with CPU usage upwards of 90%, which all came after I installed new NVIDIA drivers. In general, Battlefield 6's performance has been below par since release, but perhaps a massive new map along with this huge update is the straw that can break the camel's back. But at the end of day 1, Battlefield 6 Season 3 is a big step towards what players have been asking for, and should satisfy the majority of the player base while a new urban map is on the way. If you enjoyed Gold Mid back in Battlefield 4, or even if you didn't, like myself, I think everyone will find something to enjoy with this new version. Bringing back the GOAT M16 on top of tons of new attachments and tweaks has already started to shake up the meta and got me reevaluating my loadouts. And finally, while I haven't jumped into ranked just yet, I'll be sure to grab the squad and give it a shot over the next few days. Just know while performance issues may come and go, at least on PC, if you fell off Battlefield 6 a while back, now is the time to jump back on. But I do worry these unnecessary changes to gunplay, on top of the legacy issues, could still drag the experience down. Again, incredible content followed up with boneheaded gameplay changes. But guys, let me know what you think of Season 3 so far. And for everything else Battlefield, stay tuned and subscribe, and as always, thank you guys for watching.